So recently, the Gotham City suffered a loss last week. I believe it was not last Friday, but the Friday. It was recently. We'll just say that.
Yeah.
We lost Adam West, who played Batman after in the 1960s TV show and in the 1966 movie after a short battle with leukemia at age 88, which
that's a good lifespan, but sad nonetheless.
Yes, I remember when Gotham, the finale aired the same week that he died. I remember the Thursday, it was before we knew he died. I remember the Thursday to celebrate another season of Gotham, which, wasn't supposed to ever happen.
Yeah.
But to celebrate, I said, I'm going to watch my two favorite TV Batmans, which are the animated series and the 60s Batman. But I think, a lot of people remember the 60s Batman for nostalgic reasons, but I think a lot of people forget how important that show is in saving Batman, because I don't know how much you know about the history of Batman pre-Tim Burton.
Or
pre-Nolan.
Not a perfect timeline.
So, okay, here we go. Little history lesson. We're not going to go through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Just
I'm actually... I'm wearing Batman's socks.
No way.
Wait. Am I? Yep. So there's a little... a sneak peek that isn't visible because I can't bend that far, but...
So, here we go. So, as we know, in 1939, Batman first appears in Detective Comics 27, created by Bob Kane and Bill Finger, who finally gets credit that he deserves, Bill Finger. And he becomes the second biggest superhero after Superman, and Batman eventually has two movie serials made out of him. Now, do you know what a movie serial is?
Well, there's multiple. I can tell from the wording, and
it's okay if you don't.
It's ongoing.
Here, I'll tell you.
I don't know.
So
I was just guessing.
It's almost like a season of a TV show in the movie theater, because it used to be like on Saturdays. I guess you could play like a nickel or something, or dime, and you could spend like all day at the movie theaters,
like
where
Nickelodeon.
Exactly.
That's what that word's from.
And they would show like old cartoons, and they would have serials where it was almost like a 15 episodes mini-series of Batman, and they also had one for Superman.
Yeah.
Where you would watch like a 15-minute episode, and it would always end on a cliffhanger, so you would go back to the theater the next week.
I guess I knew that was a thing. I guess I knew that, like, shorter form, like something that would be considered television now, we used to be played in that way.
Yeah, so it's funny how it kind of came back now with Netflix. Because those Daredevil and all that is basically those serials.
Yeah.
With a higher budget, though. But so for reasons, Batman is big. He's the second biggest character after Superman. And then what kills superheroes? There's two things. One is, I guess the feeling was after World War II ended, there wasn't as much need of superheroes, because I guess a lot of people viewed Hitler as kind of like a cartoony super villain criminal, I guess.
He was pretty bad.
Yes, he was. And then it kind of switched over to we don't really need superheroes because we don't have like this big villain anymore. So people went to like horror comics and westerns.
Yeah.
So, and then what happened was there was this psychiatrist. I don't know if I ever told you about him. Dr. Frederick Wertham. Now, just that name sounds like a comic book supervillain.
Yeah.
I can say all this because he's dead now. Dr. Frederick Wertham, who's one of these people who likes to blame the media for everything that's wrong in the world. We know those people and we don't like them. But anyway, so Dr. Frederick Wertham, we're not even calling him a doctor, he's a psychiatrist.
You're not a doctor.
He's not a doctor. And, no more of this doctor crap. Frederick Wertham published this book called Seduction of the Innocent, which tried to blame everything wrong with juveniles in the 1950s on superheroes.
Yeah.
On comic books. And superheroes especially, and the horror comics too. And he talked about how Superman was un-American and it made kids a fascist or something. And he just had all these examples that people listened to, and he was a witness at Congress about a testimony about kind of violence with juveniles. And what happened was it later led to the creation of the Comics Code Authority, in the 1950s. So you couldn't be too violent. That code also killed horror comics.
I see.
So you couldn't be too violent, which, in the 1950s, there was a lot of sci-fi. So the Flash came, and that's what kind of brought superheroes back, was the Barry Allen the Flash in the 1950s that kind of brought superheroes back. So, but with that code, you couldn't be too violent, but it was fine for Superman, who you could do more sci-fi stories with, the Flash, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman. But the character who suffered the most was Batman.
Right.
Because if you ever see those old books, it's basically like Tim Burton's Batman or the animated series of the Arkham games. He's the Dark Knight.
Yeah.
And then because of this comic code, he had to be, the stories were about him going to outer space. And remember do you know who the Great Gazoo is on the Flintstones?
Oh.
He's that little green guy.
Yeah.
Batman had one of those called Batmite.
Oh my god.
You see, so Batman sales are awful because he's not the character he was when it started with Bill Finger and Bob Kane.
Right.
Also, so I don't forget, Dr. Frederick Wertham, not doctor, but Mr. Wertham, in 2010 his research became available about the book.
Yeah.
Turned out, all these examples he had, turns out he made them all up. So the whole book was fake.
Yeah.
So that was all for nothing. But, everyone's doing fine except for Batman, because Batman's really not really Batman anymore. Like, there's a horrible comic book cover. I mean, it's nicely drawn, but the idea is Batman standing on a roof with Robin, and the wind blows his cowl off. And it's like, my God, Robin, we must find that cowl, or people will know I'm Batman. This is real people. So Batman sales are awful. DC is planning on canceling Batman and just getting rid of the character. So he would have just been a character that we remember from World War II at a few movie serials. But at, I believe it was colleges, they would re-show those serials that we talked about. One was Batman from 1943. The other was Batman and Robin from 1949. And they'd show those in movie theaters, and someone at ABC was just like, hey, people like these old serials, so maybe it's time we bring Batman back. And so they talked to William Dozier about bringing Batman to TV. And William Dozier, the idea was to make it more of a comedy, which you gotta remember, it's the 60s, so I don't think, had you made a show like, the tone of Tim Burton's Batman or Nolan's Batman, I don't think it will survive.
Yeah.
I think it will probably gotten pulled before, because parents were still like, oh my God, we must listen to Wertham.
Yeah.
So they had the show, which starred Adam West, and also a little trivia. I think I mentioned this before. Lyle Wagner played Steve Trevor on Wonder Woman, was kind of the second choice to play Batman.
Oh, yeah.
So, Batman premieres on ABC, which is struggling and becomes a big hit. And they say the 60s can be said with 3 Bs, Beatles, Bond, and Batman. And, it really is kind of like, we've had so many live-action superhero shows, but I think that's the most famous one, is Batman. That's the one you see people reference
for sure
all the time. And you gotta remember, when you look at Adam West's portrayal of Batman, you have to remember, it's a comedy show too, so he has to look like he's playing it straight, but at the same time, playing it comedically. Like, not to bash on a certain movie again, but they had comedic moments, or they tried to, in The Dark Knight Rises. Like, remember when Bruce is at that party with Miranda Tate, and they're talking about how, all this party just for people to feed their ego. And he's like, this is my party. Oh yeah. It didn't work. So that's one thing that Adam West really had. And we've had so many live-action Batman actors. I don't think any of those other ones could have worked in the show like West did.
Yeah, he did great.
Yeah, and also, he also voiced the character in the 1970s cartoon, The New Adventures of Batman, and he was Batman in the final 2 seasons of Super Friends. So, and I remember personally with Adam West, coming home, our elementary school, to pick a little bit of a bone, would let us out at 3:30. Remember that?
Yeah.
Now, TV Land used to air Batman at 3 and 3:30. And if you remember, the shows were always like split in two. It was basically an hour-long show.
Yeah.
So, young me would always have to miss the first half hour.
Crap.
So, I don't know. Have you ever actually seen the Adam West Batman?
I've seen bits of it. I haven't sat there.
You haven't seen a whole episode or the movie?
I might have seen like a whole episode, but if I did, it was a long time ago. Like I think I'm almost positive I've seen a couple full episodes as a kid.
The movie's on Netflix.
I didn't know that.
As
we discussed,
it's a good movie. It's a really good movie. Oh, you don't love Netflix. I remember you talking how much you love Netflix, and now gone.
Well, I mean, I've been using the YouTubes lately.
Oh,
have you heard of that?
Is. I have. Yeah. It's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
But so you don't really have a lot of memories. You don't have like these childhood memories of watching.
Really, my only childhood memories of Batman is the Tim Burton movies and comic books.
All right.
Yeah.
Did you watch the animated series?
That was one thing that was like I caught it if it was on TV as a kid, but I barely saw any of it because I had no grasp of like when things aired. As a kid, I just like turned on TV and watched stuff that was on.
See, my house, every day at whatever was on Fox or the WB, shows how old we are, the WB, it was on Batman, the animated series. And also, Adam West was on the animated series. And it's this great kind of love letter from one legendary Batman to the other about, how much that show means to him. And it's basically Bruce, someone's copying the show The Grey Ghost that Adam West's character was on, and Batman kind of turns to him for help because he would have known the episode.
Yeah.
And there's a great thing about how, Batman brings Grey Ghost to the Batcave, and there's like this little tribute to him. And he says to Grey Ghost about how I would watch you, my father, the Grey Ghost was my hero. And it's a great episode that if you want to see a tribute to Adam West and you kind of binge watched all the 60s show and the movie, go check that out. Also, man, there's a lot of stuff he was in. Also, he's the first Batman to have other superheroes cross over with him in live action. Because there's a show called The Green Hornet, which there was a crossover. And also, in the 1970s, Batman and Robin crossed over in kind of a Justice League special. It was basically a reunion to the 60s show called Legends of the Superheroes, where Batman and Robin would team up with The Flash and Green Lantern and Black Canary and Hawkman, all these other characters, everyone except for Superman and Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman was at CBS, and I believe this was on NBC, and Superman they were saving for the movie.
Yeah.
So there was that, and I rewatched it recently, and it's not the best, but Batman and Robin have the best moments, which, as it should be. But and also recently we've had it where it feels like the last few years Batman 66 has kind of come back, has been a big comeback recently, and also he voiced the character in the new movie for the show's 50th anniversary of the show, and it was him, Burt Ward as Robin again, and Julie Newmar as Catwoman. So they were in that, but it feels like recently, I guess since 2014, it really has like come back. So at least like when we lost him, his Batman was still popular again. Like even Ben Affleck's son, Ben Affleck was talking about while he was filming the movie, his son was watching the old reruns. So I mean, I don't know how much you've or how much you remember about the 60s show, but we've had so many versions of Batman. We've had ones that are forgotten, like the serials, or it's pretty much forgotten. Remember the Batman from the 2000s?
Yeah, I remember hearing the name announced on.
But it's very rare that you have a version that keeps going and going. So I I think we can safely say, because of all the love this 60s Batman has had, I think we can safely say that 60s Batman and the animated series are the two versions that will keep going on forever.
Yeah.
So what do you think, why do you think is it about those two versions that will make it keep going where some of the other versions are kind of forgotten?
It might. I mean, part of it can just be what ends up being considered a classic. I mean, probably a bigger audience probably saw and was able to then later get nostalgic about the 60s Batman, whereas, like, the serials were probably a little bit more closed group. Can't say for individual animated series why some of them didn't catch on.
The animated series. You know, the Bruce Tim...
that one?
The one from the 90s.
The 90s, okay. I mean, I guess it's probably people like you who are nostalgic about it. Probably.
I think because there's something about those... I think it almost goes beyond nostalgia, almost, because we've had it where the 60s Batman and that animated series keep going, but serials are forgotten, the Batman's basically forgotten. I think there's... And it's really come back recently, where we've kind of gone back to... I think probably the Tim Burton Batman has also kind of had that comeback, but not as much as the other two.
Yeah.
Although, in my personal opinion, it should. But I think that... Look, let's be honest. The last few live-action Batmans have not really done it for a lot of people.
I think I might have another theory.
Yes.
That as superheroes and superhero movies have gotten more popular and more in the zeitgeist, maybe people have delved into very deep into the characters and franchises
like
more,
their history
and like the comic books and everything, and maybe they like the ones that are more accurate to the source material.
Yeah, I think because when you look, let's be honest, Dark Knight Rises, you take that suit away, he's not really Batman.
Yeah.
And, you know, people have a problem with Batman versus Superman, the way he was portrayed. I will say this. I think it was a mistake to start with that movie. They should have had a solo Batman before. And also, we had the Joker in Suicide Squad, which not a lot of people really cared for. And it feels like those two versions, 60s Batman and the animated series, if... You know, you get to a point where you see the Joker from Suicide Squad, you see Batman Dark Knight Rises, and it's like, can't you just do it the way it should be done?
Yeah.
Can't you just do it? And, look, whatever you want to say about the tone of the 60s Batman show, one could argue is the most faithful live-action version of the character. Like, I think it's more faithful than the serials. I do think it's more faithful than the Christopher Nolan Batmans. I do think... Well, we gotta wait for Affleck's.
Yeah. Well, I wonder, what do you have to say then about Heath Ledger's Joker? Because that is often considered by, I don't know exactly what group says this, but a lot of people think that's the best Joker.
Yeah.
A lot of people just like his acting in that particular one.
See, here's the thing about those first two Christopher Nolan, we won't count the third one. I like to think of them as separate.
Yeah.
I gave up on that movie. a few weeks ago, I said, you know what? It's been 5 years almost. I'm going to my grave hating that movie. If I want to see the same story, I can see... If I want to see Dark Knight Returns, which is what that story was based on, I can see Batman vs. Superman, which also, I remember, in high school, I was telling you about the upcoming animated movies. You probably don't remember this, but I remember telling you that one of the ones they're doing is Dark Knight Returns, which is an animated version of Dark Knight Rises, and you said, why are they doing that? And later, after seeing Dark Knight Rises, I was like, he knew there was something wrong. So anyway, what were we going? Oh yeah, Heath Ledger's Joker. So the thing about those first two Nolan Batman movies is they're basically an origin story for those characters, where it doesn't feel... Batman doesn't really become Batman until the end of The Dark Knight, it feels like. Joker is still kind of becoming the Joker.
Yeah.
So that's why, personally, I like the first Tim Burton Batman more than The Dark Knight, is that's like the... Tim Burton's is the classic versus The Dark Knight, it's their origin story.
I see what you mean.
It also feels, every time we have a reboot, it feels like the origin story keeps getting longer and longer and longer. And, I really like the Heath Ledger Joker, except accept? Would it have been too much to paint his whole face?
I think they might have wanted it to look kind of ugly.
I don't care. Would it have been too much?
Yeah, you want it to look like the classic character.
I'm just saying, we only get a few Batman, and if we're lucky, we get like 3 or 4 Batman movies every 10 years.
Yeah.
You just make it look right.
Yeah.
So I love the Heath Ledger Joker, but it's very different from, it's about him becoming.
Yeah.
That's what those two movies are about. It's basically their long origin story.
Do you know that do you think they would have done another Joker like the Dark Knight, right? Like the third Batman in the trilogy would be the Joker. I literally can't remember if the Joker dies in the Dark Knight.
He doesn't.
I didn't think so.
I've watched that movie so many times.
Do you think I probably haven't seen it in a good 4 years or something.
Really?
Yeah.
The Dark Knight?
Yeah, I mean, I like it a lot, so I saw it a few years ago, but,
You know what? When we're done with this, we'll ask about our favorite Batmans.
Yeah.
But, yeah, where are we going? Oh, you don't remember? Yeah, they didn't kill the Joker.
All I was wondering is, do you know if they would have maybe done another Joker Batman?
From what I've heard in interviews, that was the plan, was Joker was supposed to come back.
Yeah, I thought so, because maybe then they would have made him more developed and painted his whole face.
I can almost say, I feel like it felt almost like, from what I heard, I don't know, because you hear sometimes people talk about it was just supposed to be a trilogy. I don't know, I feel like, from what I've heard, and this could have been said before the Dark Knight. This was said before the Dark Knight came out, so it could have changed. But I heard the original plan was it was going to be for Batman 2 and 3. It was going to be the Joker story, and then the third one, Harvey Dent became Two-Face. But obviously that changed.
Yeah.
But I think it was always a plan for Joker. He might not have been the main villain, but I don't know. Honestly, I almost think that series might have kept going had it not been for, the death of Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's what I was thinking. Maybe that would have been a more developed version of the Joker.
Yeah, because those movies, those first two are really just a long origin story.
Yeah.
But also, because this is a kind of a somber story, about how we lost Adam West. And also, I don't know if you know about this, but recently in LA, they shined like a real bat signal in honor of him.
Yeah, I saw that.
I don't think you'll ever have as much a tribute to a live-action Batman as Adam West.
I think a lot of people probably do consider it like the start of Batman, even though it really wasn't. But I mean, just the start of TV Batman, like live-action Batman. Or
also the thing you gotta remember is, I was thinking about this recently. You might consider me a Batman fan.
Maybe.
A little bit.
Maybe.
So, I rewatch, Batman stuff all the time. So, I see Michael Keaton, Kilmer, Clooney, first two Bales, Affleck, maybe 2 or 3 times a year. I see Adam West and Kevin Conroy all the time because of the TV show.
Yeah.
So, I think that helps it, because that's the thing, you see on TV, you see them all the time versus...
It's technically more screen time.
Yeah.
So.
And also, because this is a sad thing, and because Adam West loved comedy. He really loved kind of the comedy in that show. There's like this great scene in the pilot, which, I rewatched that pilot. They did a really good job explaining the origin story without doing the origin story. Because unlike, Superman and all that, it starts with he's already Batman, but, talk about, kind of in the dialogue about this is what he does because his parents were murdered and all that.
Yeah.
But there's this great scene in the pilot about where he walks into this nightclub and everyone's freaking out. It's like, Batman! And this one guy says, can I get you a table, Batman? And he goes, oh, no thanks, I'll just stand at the bar. I shouldn't wish to attract attention. But I came up with this list. Why Adam West's Batman is a legend. Comparing him to the other Batman, live-action Batman, we forgot the serials, but don't lie, you did too. So, comparing him to Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, George Clooney, Christian Bale, and Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
Also forgot the guy from Gotham. We're sorry. You're almost to Batman.
But here we go.
All right, here we go. 5 little things. Little comedy thing. Think about this. Michael Keaton and Christian Bale fought the Joker once. Okay? Now, Ben Affleck apparently he's obviously met Joker more than once, but we don't know. Adam West, on the other hand, fought the Joker in 22 live-action episodes, 1 live-action movie, 7 animated appearances, and 1 fan film. So, in The Dark Knight, when Joker says, "I think you and I are destined to do this forever," you know,
that's case
Keaton and Bale should be happy that West took care of the Joker for those times for you. All right. In the movies, Batman has a grapple gun, which was actually created by the Tim Burton movie. You know, the kind of...
Yeah.
Adam West Batman actually had to climb up those walls. And as we remember, there's in the movie, the cartoon that came out last year, there's this great scene about how Robin's talking about, like, "Oh, my legs hurt, Batman." He's just like, "That's just because you've been working on your biceps." And he's like, "Gosh, you're right, Batman." And, you know, he would greet citizens such as the Green Hornet or the butler from the Addams Family and Santa Claus. So,
of course. You gotta greet Santa Claus.
Of course. I mean, if there's anyone who should be on the nice list, there you go.
Yep.
All right, here... Movie Batmen wear black paint around their eyes. Adam West, he just had those little eye slits really, really small. So, I mean, there's probably a scene where Alfred said, "Master Bruce, don't you think you're taking this bat thing a little too literally, where you have to be blind as a bat?" "Alfred, I must be a bat!" "Holy poor vision, Batman!" And here we go. Movie Batmen always come out at night. Adam West Batman had to come out during the day. Now, if you think that suit is hot at night, imagine that in the beating sun.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's a scene in the 60s movie where Batman and Robin are running to get to the World Assembly peace thing. And I'm just like, my God, that must be so hot in those suits. And also, save this for last because it's the best. It took Christian Bale almost a 3-hour movie to get rid of a bomb. Adam West did it in less than 2 minutes, and he didn't need that stupid autopilot. So, there we go.
That's compelling.
There it is. Farewell to a legend.
Ooh.
There you go. Thank you, Mr. West, from every Bat fan.
Thank you.
Yes, we'll always see you same bat time. We don't need the same... No, any bat time, any bat channel, thanks to the DVD, which took forever to come out.
Yeah.
Do you know about that? About how the show was made by Fox, but the character's owned by Warner Brothers?
Yeah.
So it took
big
forever. I remember, you know, when George Reeves' Superman came out, Linda Carl Wonder Woman, I don't care. I want Batman! But it finally did come out.
Finally.
So there we go. A long thing, but, you know, the guy earned it, so...